You're rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats.
Especially for the main rider, Jorge Martin, who has been sidelined since a violent incident during the pre-season tests in Malaysia. However, he thinks the proposal will be beneficial for the whole championship in terms of safety, and ultimately for the show. I think it's a good idea and everyone agrees, except one person, said Rivola. The person in question is of course Tardozzi, who firmly rejected Rivola's proposal to be implemented this year. It could be a good idea for the future, said Tardozzi. The Ducati Lenovo team manager mentioned that he also experienced the same problem with Enea Bastianini a few years ago. In other news, Ducati course general manager, Gigi D'Aligna, gave an explanation that seemed to emphasize that Marc Marquez's dominance in the first two racing series this season was due to pure talent. Marquez's 2 wins in the races in Thailand and Argentina began to bring jealousy from the Francesco Bagnaia camp. Bagnaia has only been able to get on the podium once in 2 long races at the start of the 2025 MotoGP season. The third podium is not where it should be for Bagnaia, who is a 2-time MotoGP world champion. Moreover, Bagnaia has more experience than Marquez in understanding the Desmosedici GP bike. D'Aligna is most responsible for the gap in the results obtained by his 2 riders. Let's say there are parts of the team that celebrate, there are also those who have to work a little, said D'Aligna, quoted by Motosan. That is my job. I am always in a place that has problems. So I try to help those who are struggling the most so they can do their best, said the Italian engineer. And here is the full news. Jorge Martin's opportunity to ride a MotoGP bike before appearing in an official event was broken by Ducati boss Davide Tardozzi. Previously, Massimo Rivola as CEO of Aprilia Course proposed a new rule. Rivola proposed that injured riders be given the opportunity to ride a MotoGP bike before undergoing an official session. There should be a rule that if a rider has missed 2 or 3 racing series, he can test ride a MotoGP bike, Rivola was quoted as saying by Speedweek. He also did not deny that there were many personal interests behind the proposal. Especially for the main racer, Jorge Martin, who has been absent since experiencing a serious incident during the pre-season test in Malaysia. However, he thinks the proposal will benefit the entire championship in terms of safety, and ultimately for the show. I think it's a good idea and everyone agrees, except one person, said Rivola. The person in question is of course Tardozzi, who firmly rejected Rivola's proposal to be implemented this year. It could be a good idea for the future, said Tardozzi. The Ducati Lenovo team manager mentioned that he also experienced the same problem as Enea Bastianini a few years ago. We faced the same problem with Enea, but no one gave us the opportunity to test it, regretted Tardozzi. That's why he's not in favor of implementing the proposed rule this year. Rivola also apologized for not proposing this earlier. I apologize for not proposing this earlier. But this idea was born because this happened to us, he concluded. With this, Martin's chance to try the Aprilia MotoGP bike again before the official session seems lost. Martin himself hopes to return to paving in the Qatar MotoGP series later. On the other hand, General Manager of Ducati Course, Gigi D'Aligna, gave an explanation that seemed to emphasize that Marc Marquez's dominance in the 2 racing series earlier this season was due to pure talent. Marquez's 2 wins in the races in Thailand and Argentina began to bring jealousy from the Francesco Bagnaia camp. Bagnaia has only been able to get on the podium once in 2 long races at the start of the 2025 MotoGP season. The third podium is not where it should be for Bagnaia, who is a 2-time MotoGP world champion. Moreover, Bagnaia has more experience than Marquez in understanding the Desmosedici GP bike. D'Aligna is most responsible for the gap in the results obtained by his 2 riders. Let's say there are parts of the team that celebrate, there are also those who have to work a little, said D'Aligna, quoted by Motosan. That is my job. I am always in a place that has problems. So I try to help those who are struggling the most so they can do their best, said the Italian engineer. The white-haired man emphasized that he always listens to his driver's complaints after the race. "We always talk after the race," he said. "Remember that I always prefer to wait a little while after the race to analyze the problems that arise and also to fully understand what problems the riders are experiencing. It's normal to debrief the riders, it's usually done quietly after the race. And above all, we usually do it together with all the technicians, who can then make decisions to change the situation," he said. Doligna once again emphasized that there are no problems with Bagnaya's bike this season. "Let's just say there is no problem. As always, there will be problems if you reach the end of the race with destroyed tires. Especially in situations like Buriram, where the conditions are very particular. Obviously, everyone is experiencing the same thing, but there are always small details that can make a difference," said Doligna. The number one person in the Ducati MotoGP team then understands that the next race for Bagnaia will not be easy. The reason is, the race will be held on a circuit that could benefit Marquez at Circuit of the Americas, COTA, Austin. It is very clear that Bagnaia, is taking this very seriously and looking for solutions. He did that, and so did we, because he definitely had to go faster. Third position is not Pecco's, he can and must do more. Our goal is for him to express himself to the maximum, said Doligna. The Italian engineer reminded again that Ducati does not discriminate in providing material for each of its riders, including Marquez, who was great last season with the Desmosedici GP23, and this season gets the latest package from Ducati. Ducati's policy is to provide exactly the same material to all riders. We have shown it many times, and also last year with Martin and Pecco. Marc doesn't have different parts from the others. He has exactly the same bike as the others, Doligna said. Marquez's dominating performance since the start of the season has drawn the attention of many, but Martin and the Aprilia team remain optimistic. Their success in adjusting to the new bike and continuing to improve performance in every race is the reason to keep hope alive. With intense competition in the 2025 MotoGP event, Martin believes that many factors will determine who comes out as world champion. We will continue to fight, and I believe there are still many races that can provide surprises. We are ready to fight, he said. Meanwhile, Marc Marquez, who managed to reach the podium in the first few series this season, is still the favorite of many fans to win the world title this season. However, competition from other top riders, including Jorge Martin, is predicted to make the journey to the championship even more interesting. And here's the full news. Jorge Martin, Aprilia rider, finally opened his voice about Marc Marquez's dominant performance at the start of the 2025 MotoGP season. Marquez, who now rides for the Ducati team after joining at the end of the 2024 season, has been very impressive in the first few races this year. His presence at the top of the standings shows that he is rediscovering his best form after a few years full of physical and technical problems. In a post-race interview at one of the 2025 MotoGP series, Martin expressed his respect for the abilities of Marquez, who is now showing great potential on a Ducati bike. I have to admit, Marc really showed his greatness at the beginning of this season. Ducati provides a very competitive bike, and Marc knows exactly how to maximize the potential of the bike, Martin said. The Spaniard added that Marquez seems to be back to his best, with an incredible pace that is hard for anyone to beat, including him. However, despite being impressed with Marquez's performance, Martin remains optimistic about his chances for the rest of the season. According to him, although Ducati and Marquez have been very strong, the competition in MotoGP is very dynamic, and many things can change in every race. This season is still long. Many factors can affect the final result of the race, such as weather, track conditions, team strategies, and of course, the physical condition of the riders. So, even though Marquez looks very strong, I believe we all have the same chance, Martin added. While Marc Marquez has dominated the first few series of the 2025 MotoGP with convincing victories, Martin also pointed out that the Aprilia bike continues to develop at a rapid pace. In the past few races, Martin has managed to achieve impressive podium positions, although the Aprilia team has faced some challenges in terms of consistency and adaptation to the new regulations. We continue to work hard. We are making significant progress in terms of bike settings and adjustments to my riding style. We know that we have to compete with the big teams like Ducati, Yamaha and Honda, but I believe we are on the right track, Martin explained. According to Martin, one of the key aspects that sets the Aprilia team apart from other teams is its more holistic approach to developing the bike. The Aprilia team does not just focus on one particular element, but strives to create a good balance between bike performance, rider comfort, and engine durability. Our bike may not be as fast as the Ducati in some areas, but we have strengths in terms of stability and durability, which can be a big advantage going into the latter part of the season, he explained further. The biggest challenge for Martin and the Aprilia team is how to overcome Ducati's growing dominance. Marquez, with his experience and ability to control the bike, has become a major threat to the other riders on the grid. However, Martin remains convinced that consistency is the key to winning the world title. I believe that in racing, it's not only the speed that determines, but also how we can maintain consistency from series to series. If we can overcome technical problems and continue to improve our speed, I think we can compete until the end of the season, said Martin. On the other hand, Marc Marquez also spoke about his dominance at the start of this season. Marquez said that he felt more confident after adapting to the Ducati bike, which has different characteristics compared to the Honda bike he rode before. I feel more comfortable with the Ducati bike. The speed I have now is very different from previous years, and I think this is the result of the hard work of the Ducati team who have developed the bike very well, said Marquez, who is now back competing at the top level. However, while Marquez has shown his dominance, he also warned that there are still many races to go and anything can happen. This season is very competitive. Many riders and teams can rise at any time. I have to stay focused and not let my guard down, because the competition in MotoGP is always very tight, he added. MotoGP 2025 is predicted to be one of the fiercest seasons, with competition between top riders such as Marquez, Martin, Ducati's Francesco Bagnaia, and Aprilia's Maverick Vinales and Alex Espargaro. Each team has high hopes of winning the world title, and each race will be a fierce battle for pole position. Jorge Martin also emphasized that he will not give up his fight for the world title. This year is a very important year for me and the team. We have shown significant progress, and I believe with hard work, we can be serious contenders for the world title. We will continue to work hard and see what we can achieve, Martin concluded. With the season still a long way to go and the competition getting tougher, MotoGP 2025 promises more drama, suspense and thrilling moments. All eyes are now on Marc Marquez and Jorge Martin, two Spaniards who are ready to fight for supremacy in the world's most prestigious racing championship.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take